right now we have like over 3,000 customers, and we're growing 20% month over month for the last 6 months. It could have been like 30%, 50%, 100% one month, or like 10% suddenly out of nowhere.
Yo, mic check. What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Street Pricing Podcast, the only show where proven SaaS leaders share their mindset and mistakes in pricing so we can all stop guessing and start growing. Enjoy, subscribe, and tell a friend. Now, let's break it down with your host and sought-after slayer of bad pricing, Marcos Rivera.
What's up, and welcome to the Street Pricing Podcast. I'm Marcos Rivera, author, founder, and CEO of Pricing.io. And joining me today is Nikita, and he's the CEO and founder of Maildoso. And Maildoso is a startup that is solving the problem with cold email, is on fire. I'm so happy to have him with us. Nikita, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for being here, because your journey is something that when you told me, how you got here, I just felt like other SaaS operators and founders have to hear more. So first of all, let's just let everyone know a little bit more about you and what you do.
Okay, sure. So I run a cold email infrastructure company, and simply said, we deliver emails. When you send cold emails, you need physically deliver it from one server to another and make sure it not end up in spam, which is the biggest problem in the cold email space these days. So Maildoso helps to solve this problem, make sure your emails land in inbox, and then also so that you can easily scale your cold email campaigns. We have all sorts of customers that do cold email on a completely different scale. Like we have companies that send just 10, 20, 50 cold emails per day. And we have giant, companies for which cold email is number one customer acquisition channel, and they make millions of cold email.
This is something that's really interesting to me because of the times that we're in. I think everyone's trying out, cold email outreach and all their stuff, or a big chunk of it's getting stuck in spam. So definitely want to hear more, a lot more about that. And this is not your first rodeo, too. This is not your first startup or your first SaaS endeavor. So we're going to crack that open a little bit more. So I'm excited to dig in a little bit deeper. Are you ready to get street with me?
Yeah, sure.
Super. Exactly, man. Listen, so I want to make sure that before we get into it, I want to lay out a roadmap for all the listeners here. So this show is based on the book Street Pricing. So I have three main sections that we cover. The first one's going to be Rewind, which is about a big story in the past. How did you figure out your pricing, your packaging, or maybe a story of struggling with it, which is also good. We then move on into Play, and Play is really what's working today. Love to hear how you've experimented with Maildoso, what kind of pricing, packaging has been working, value, positioning, all that good stuff. And then we go into Fast Forward, which is, okay, what's next? Where do we go from here? How are you planning on changing your packaging or just your method for growth? And then that's it. And then we'll wrap it up and get some other good things going. But if you're ready to rock, let's go ahead and start with a story.
So the story of our pricing, it might be a very interesting story. We just there are a couple of components. First is that we just did a competitive analysis. There weren't that many companies that doing the same thing back in the day when we started. We started at the end of 2023. After there are a few more competitors, direct competitors launched, but before that there were nobody. And we basically we sell mailboxes and domains to our customers. So for those who don't know, these days, companies prefer to not send cold emails from their main domain, and because it can get burned, and then all your customer communication can be at risk, because if your main domain is accused in spam, then all emails that you send, even to your existing customers, will end up in spam, which is not the situation where you want to be. And because of that, many companies that want to scale cold email, they buy a lot of domains and spread all the emails they send evenly across them. So we sell mailboxes and domains. So we just went and to check how much does it cost these days to buy business mailbox and domain, and we use this as a starting point. Also, we have quite unique thing, which is people usually, they mention it like, I've never seen it, or we have quarterly billing, and so we don't have like monthly billing, and it's quarterly, and we provide domains for free. So essentially, domain registration cost is included into our quarterly plans. We did this because it was just easier in the beginning. In the beginning, we did not have like much of automations. Our product, like our customers, after they were subscribing, they were literally receiving a Google form from us, and they had to, it was very simple. And they had to fill everything out. So we didn't know like how many domains would customer buy, and then how to make it fully automated. So we came up with these packages, like you get, 10 domains and 40 mailboxes, and domain registration cost is already included in the price, so that it's not surprise for you, but also because it's easier for us to calculate. So like we came up with this packages and pricing plans just because it was easier, and also
it was easier both ways. It sounds like, Nikita, it was easier for you guys, and maybe the quarterly thing also, maybe that frequency was also something that was appealing to them, right? Because now you get a little bit of cold email. I mean, these things take time, right? And so being able to create a different frame of reference instead of monthly or annually, the quarterly actually was a nice in between, made life easier for you guys, which starting up with Google Forms. I hope people understand this. Like, you don't need to get fancy in the beginning with pricing, right? You just want to start. And then you looked at some competitive just to make sure you're in the ballpark, and you understood the costs of the domains and things like that. And I thought bundling that in, that's interesting, because now you sort of removed another friction point. You just said, this is included in the price. And so like, okay, there's some already of that cost already covered in here. Let's go. Right. I love it.
Yeah. And a lot of customers these days, so like currently it's like a legacy pricing system that with us for like since the early days, but a lot of our customers say that they like the way how it works right now, because for them it's very predictable. Onboarding cost is far less comparing to other alternatives if you pay for mailboxes and domains separately. Yeah, there are some, nuances connected with cash flow dynamics when it comes to like when we work with agencies. They not always happy with this approach, but hey, we bootstrapped, and so we had to we actually I just realized we actually started with annual billing, and then we introduced quarterly plans because many of our customers they asked for it. They say, hey, can we pay at least quarterly? And we it works, let's do quarterly. Because I learned this hack from many other companies, SaaS companies, when they unprofitable, the ads is too expensive for them, the customer acquisition cost is too high. And as soon as they switch to annual billing, they start getting a lot more upfront cash. Of course, the number of customers is, they get less customers. Yeah. But because, let's say, they start getting 3 times less customers, but they get, 12 times more cash upfront, which is, it is just like a lot better if you bootstrap or you're trying to optimize towards the profitability. So, and it did work. Like with annual billing, we start getting, we were profitable from the day one, and then we gradually switched to quarterly billing.
And so right now, most folks on the quarterly or most folks on the manual today, if you had to guess?
Most of our customers on quarterly plan. A lot of customers ask for monthly billing, and this is something that we were kind of ignoring for a very long time because we had a lot of, other priorities other than billing. So we have to build a product first. You can imagine if we used Google Forms, we need to bring a proper onboarding flow and a lot of other automations. Besides that, there is deliverability. We need to help our customers to land an inbox. And there is all sorts of problems. Also scaling, we grow so fast. We just discussed it with my CTO. Nearly half of our resources, the engineering resources, goes to just scaling our systems, because originally they weren't designed to operate at that scale, and then we have to rebuild them, and like it might not look like we introduce new features because we just trying to make like our database work at that scale or something. So
yes, you gotta make sure the foundation, like the core things, are
yeah.
ready for the volume. I gotta ask you this though, because it's interesting. You went a little bit backwards. A lot of companies start month to month, and then maybe they'll introduce a quarterly, or maybe they'll go all the way up to annual, right? They
Yeah.
start month to month. You went the other way. You started with
Yeah.
annual and then went back to quarterly, and then now I'm potentially introducing a month to month later. But it's interesting in that sequence that you went and basically just listening to the customers and understanding how they want to pay, and then implementing that and still making it easier and making life easy for you in these early days. You don't have a staff of 500 people, so you can't
Yeah.
address all these different needs. When you came up with the packages, though, I'm curious. You said you factored in the cost of the domain, and you made sure that there's the right bundle in there. Now, it's a pretty straightforward solution, right? But did you think about coming up with a only one plan in the beginning? Are you deciding how you want to tier it later? Thinking about how you came up with your plan, and how did you know that it was the right stuff to include in the plan?
We came up with 4 different plans depending on the how many cold emails people want to send, and sometimes they don't know. By the way, it's something that we discovered. They know how many meetings they want to book, but they don't know how many emails they need to send to get there, or like what's the size of their market, something like this. So we came up with 4 plans, each of them just to address different volume of emails, and then we like our sales team like create custom plans if somebody needs something in between. I believe that nearly like half of all purchases, they've been made with custom plans.
Got it. So you started with a set 4, and it was mostly
Yeah.
volume driven. Sounds like, right? Hey,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
do a
Yeah.
ton more,
Yeah.
emails, you got to do this plan. If you do a little bit, you do that
Yeah.
plan. That makes total sense. Keeping the package or what's in there fairly simple, and then as you're discovering along the way, you have the custom plans, and now you can take those customs and decide, okay, maybe it's better to offer a plan like this based on that,
Yeah.
right? So you don't, and I think for everyone, you don't have to get perfect with your plans in the beginning, right? And that's the key here, is the listening, right? You started with annual, you're listening, you switched to quarterly, you had these 4 plans, right? You're going to switch these things up as well. I think the point is making the environment iterative and easy to move and change and improve as you're learning from your customer base. It sounds like here, you're like not even a year and a half in, and you're growing, you're scaling. Give us a little bit of sense for how things are working since you rolled out these plans at the end of 23.
So right now we have like over 3,000 customers, and we're growing 20% month over month for the last 6 months. Before that, it was crazy roller coaster. It could have been like 30%, 50%, 100% one month, or like 10% suddenly out of nowhere. The last 6 months, just 20% month over month.
Nuts.
If that
That's
makes
nuts. You
sense.
went from
Yeah.
0 to 3,000. It's not even been a year and a half yet. That is
Yeah. Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
incredible.
because there was like we were discussing this thing. The customer acquisition cost for us like just crazy low, because we're doing cold email. First $500,000 we did only with cold email. Like we didn't do anything else. We were just sending emails. We weren't considering doing anything else. Like we didn't have like a proper, I don't know, marketing team or something, because we started with like we had a CMO, like chief marketing officer in our team, but most of the time he was like, I don't know what to do, because we had like supply problem most of the time. So we were a lot of times where we like, hey guys, we need to stop all our outbound activities because we have too many clients that then we can handle.
I think so many people would wish they were in your position to say, guys, we can't take any more customers. We got too much going on right now. Stop advertising, right? Um,
A lot of people were saying like it's a good problem to have, but yeah, but it's also extremely stressful to be in this situation. I cannot. I mean, in that period, I had like problems with with sleep because there was a lot of stress, a lot of problems going on. So it's like yes, it's good problems to have, but it's also at the same time like extremely stressful to be in that kind of situation.
it is. It's a different kind of stress. It's still stress and still a problem that you have to figure out, right? Team, I want to take a quick pause here to ask you for a huge favor that'll mean a lot to me. Please review and share the show. Share it with your team, your friends, your peers. Not only will it help them stop the guesswork in pricing, but it'll also help you and increase the chances that you'll take action and change for yourself. All right, much love. Now back to the show. I love it because this is really a story of keeping it simple, keeping the friction really low for folks to come in. And that first half a mil with just a cold email, that just means you just did it, right? You solved the problem with the cold email, and that is how you gave value right away. You solved the problem. Not a lot of window dressing, not a lot of lipstick and makeup. This was a straight up, you got a problem, here's a solution. And it was a very direct fit and immediate value recognition. So I think this is a fantastic story around for folks that are thinking about launching something, solving a problem, especially with all this AI and things like that, that are people are really trying to address even more sophisticated problems. I love keeping it simple, keeping the friction low, and solving the problem directly in between the eyes, and then building from there. So taking it from now the past to the present, Nikita, right? You sort of now in a year and a half in the in all your grand years of wisdom in a year and a half in this, right? You're probably seeing different problems than you saw in the beginning. And I'm interested to know what's working and what's not. Do you think you have to come up with new plans, new bundles? Do you think you have to change, a little bit of what you're billing for? I'd love to hear about what's working really well today and what may not be working.
Of course, like we see that our MRR growth is going to be MRR. It's like monthly recurring revenue, but like our MRR growth will accelerate as soon as we introduce monthly plans. But to do so, we need to kind of make a lot of preparations beforehand, because like with monthly plans, we cannot include domain registration cost in our packages. Therefore,
Ah,
we have to add a flow into our UI, into our onboarding process that allows the customers to purchase domains, like select, like they already select what they want, but they don't, there is no purchasing process, additional purchasing process. So like we would need to introduce like a couple more screens, more like processes, and then there is, because of the scale, we need to think about a lot of different things that might get wrong. So it's challenging, and we finally at this moment where we start working on it. So it's something that's going to be introduced very soon. Also, we essentially had only one product, which is a bundle of mailboxes and domains, and now we're working on introducing additional product, like a complementary one, which is more expensive than the mailboxes and domains, and it will help us to accelerate growth even further. I've talked to our biggest customers. They all open to try it and see how it works. So we anticipate to kind of with this, but it's not necessarily something that works right now, but it's something that maybe I want to.
no, that's fine. That's fine because I think the idea is I'm putting this together here is you're tiering up, so you're adding more value, right? In Maildoso premium plan, and there are always going to be customers who want the best and want more and will pay for those. And then there's a population out there that maybe even quarterly is too much for them. So switching to a monthly is also going to introduce that population to come in. You're already working on the scalability pieces right now in your core foundation, your core infrastructure. So all that's working, and it's just a natural thing around building a valuable SaaS and solution early days is sometimes you can't always do everything at once, and you have to sort of tier it out and sequence it. It sounds like you're doing this thing in a very methodical way, right? Hey, let's make sure we can handle the scale. Then let's introduce something with a higher price point. Then let's introduce something that's more on the month-to-month flexible. Oh, wait a minute, but I can't include the domains in there. So now I need to think through that workflow. I think it's all very thought through and architected as the solution is growing up and expanding, which to me is where you don't want your pricing to get too far ahead of your product. You also don't want your pricing to fall behind your product too much. And this is the thing what I call keeping pace, right? Which is as you're evolving and as you're developing, relook at how you're exchanging value and see, do you need another plan? Do you need a month to month? Do you need something else as you're building up? I think that's a big one, is to keep that pricing next to the product so they both move up. Almost like have a pricing roadmap and a packaging roadmap as you're building out. I think would be a great idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. One thing, Nikita, I've been thinking about asking for a little bit is, you're solving this problem. You grew from 0 to 3,000 pretty damn fast. So that means you solved this problem a bit better than what's out there today or what they've been dealing with before. Can you give me a sense for that aha moment where you're like, ooh, I think we've solved cold email a lot better than other solutions? Can you give me a sense of how you landed on that?
So there wasn't one moment. It's just something that I personally passionate about. Like, this is my 8th company. I failed all the previous startups, but there was something that's, in common. I used cold email as a primary go-to-market motion for pretty much all of them. And because it's the most efficient way to validate your hypothesis, the business model. You can send email to, it's inexpensive. You don't need, you can send emails from your personal mailbox if you want. And then it gives you an idea of, if you're doing something that other people want and ready to pay for. So I was very passionate about cold email. And my previous company, it's called Backlink Swappers, and it was marketplace for SEO professionals. And we could use only cold email for customer acquisition, just because we had to be very targeted. We couldn't run ads, because then we will get all sorts of customers, and it doesn't make any sense for with our business model. And we quickly realized that cold email is the cold email infrastructure is our biggest bottleneck. And we start investing into this a lot more than into our main product, and spend a lot more time. So I was very passionate about the technical aspect of cold email deliverability. So, and naturally, my team members, they passionate about this as well. And we run a lot of experiments. Analytical background really helps with this, because a lot of folks in the industry, they don't think into in a scientific way of how to address this. And we approach this rather from the scientific perspective. Okay, so we have a hypothesis of how this might work. Let's validate if it's true or not, so we can run an experiment and see if it works. And we run so many experiments all the time and see how we can improve. And then every week we roll out something new that helps to our customers to improve their deliverability. And at some point, I remember the moment where there were companies that start doing, fairly similar products as well, but they had far better UI. They had, onboarding, the perfect onboarding flow. They had great customer support. And by this time, we were just we had Google Forms for onboarding, very basic UI, very basic functionality, but we spent most of our time on the back end, on the infrastructure side, on how to get, how to improve the deliverability of our customers, how to solve this problem. You will be surprised, but 3,000 customers, and we still don't have a billing page. So if you need to adjust, make any adjustments to your subscription, change credit card, cancel it, you have to reach out to customer success in the chat, because we just did not have enough time to build it. We were so focused on the primarily deliver the value that we drive. And I asked myself, so like every time we were making a decision on what's to build next, I was asking this question. So like, if we have perfect deliverability, but we don't have like nice UI, but we don't have like a great billing page, will people pay us money? Yeah, of course. Like we know this for sure because most of the people, they use Gmail, which is like pain in the ass for a cold email, and they spend like thousands of hours managing it. And then like if we build a perfect billing page, but we don't have superb deliverability, will people pay us money? Probably no. So like deliverability for us, it's a core value, and we kind of always invest into it, and it's always something that we spend most of our time. That's why our UI is a bit clunky, by the way.
So you're not. so so here's the thing, right? Yeah, okay, maybe the UI isn't the best, right? You don't even have a billing page, things that are, I think most folks would look as like just basic stuff to have. But you decided that, look, it is important to get not just focused, but hyper focused on solving the core value, on solving the problem. And you put all your energy, all your resources to just that. And I think that filter could be a great filter for any SaaS operator or founder out there, which is, will people pay us money for this? Well, they pay us more money if we build this thing out, right? And I think that
Yeah,
keeps you like hyper in the value and problem solving mode, which I think in the end, people pay money to have their problem solved, right? They,
yeah,
ugly UI. Do you remember this old? You remember Craigslist, for example? Like
yeah,
the old Craigslist that just blew up. It was
exactly.
not the prettiest UI at all. It was actually pretty basic and not as good looking as other sites, but it solved the core problem, right? And
Yeah,
that's me. I'm
exactly.
not saying you guys are as ugly as Craigslist, but what I'm saying is you have
Probably
your
even worse.
but it does the damn thing. The emails get delivered, right? And so maybe a quick stat, right? Because I think there's a pretty high failure rate of cold emails out there using your home, your Gmail or whatever it is. Can you give me a sense for doing it the old way and then doing it with Maildoso? What type of deliverability benefit they get?
Oh, like most of our customers, they can come to us when they get close to nothing. They run cold email campaigns. They send like thousands of emails, but they get, 1 to 3 meetings a month. And like their open rates, I don't know, below 15%, 10%, maybe like 2%. Some customers, I had a conversation with a customer. It was by the time, like right now, it's for cold email, it's not the best metric. So it's kind of, we don't advise to measure open rates. But like even 6 months ago, it was common to measure open rates. And we usually recommend it to our customers if their open rate is below 50% to reach out to our customer success. We will help you to improve it. And then I remember I had a conversation with one of the potential customers who were considering to switching to us. And I asked, like, what's your open rate? Oh, like we have good open rate. It's like 12%. It's like, okay, I have good news for you.
Yeah, we're crushing it. We're crushing it at 12, right?
Yeah. So they come to us. They have like 12, and like we just show like no, you can have like 10 times better outcomes. And like with 12, it means like in reality, it's even worse. Most of customers that switch to us, they barely get anything from cold email, and then they come to us and we help them to get great results. And then we also have Slack community where we very active, and we we share customer stories. We share some secrets behind like how to scale your cold emails efficiently. We have clients that sends tens of thousands cold emails per day, even like hundreds of thousands cold emails per day. And those folks, they joined Maildoso early in the beginning, and they start with like very basic plans with I don't know 10 15 mailboxes. And then along the way we just explained like if you want to scale cold emails and like doing this in like efficiently, and and you want your replies scale along with your sending volume, do this, pay attention to this. And then, as we help them, they grew, and now they're very loyal customers that make, millions of cold email. I guess that the thing that we do for our customers is that we just help them to make cold email number one customer acquisition channel.
That's incredible. And if you're rocking at 2 or 12% right now, after Maildoso, you're probably double that, triple that, I think, after using you guys.
Now we don't recommend to use to track open rates, because Gmail would show this giant banner. This email contains hidden images and might be spam, and there will be like a giant spam report button. So that's why it's not recommended. But we used to share, screenshots of our customers who had like 70% open rate, 80%, 90% open rate. So
that is
you can imagine, like,
from 2% to 12 all the way to 80, 90% open rates. That is nuts. That's solving the core problem. If anything else, is like, people are opening my email before they were not, and now they are. Right. And that's kind of the big one there. The education, the webinars, the lessons where you're trying to give a little bit more content around it. Is that for, just so I'm clear, folks that are in your paid audience, or are these for free and you give away this education as maybe a lead magnet? How do you gate it? What's the education play?
First, we have a cold email deliverability guide on our website. It's free and it's ungated. Anyone can open it and learn from it. If you follow all the recommendations that we outlined there, you never have problems with, deliverability, like, period. That's it. So most of the, problems with, like, pretty much everything can be addressed with actions that we outlined there. We also run webinars. Just in a few days, by the way, we're going to host a webinar with a guy who scaled his own agency beyond 7 figures. He's helping other agency owners to scale their agencies, and we're going to have a conversation on how to scale an agency to up to 7 figures and beyond. I also, some customers, I jump on a call with them if they have problems or something. I'm like, very easy to DM me on LinkedIn, and I will send like my booking page, and say like, hey, let's hop on the call. I'm going to show you everything. It's just like, even before this podcast, I had a conversation with one of the customers. They just randomly DM'd me, and I say, yeah, let's hop on a call. And on this call, I just explained them all the important concepts that they need to know. And at the end of the call, they was like, wow, I've learned much more about cold email than I like in the past year. Yeah.
That's high value, man.
Yeah. And also we have inside our platform, you can book a call with our deliverability experts. So we have deliverability experts that are ready to hop on a call with you. And like, even if you pay us like $100 a month, they will hop on a call with you and explain you everything and help you to figure this out. And usually after, like, we do this because we know after we, show everything and explain everything, people start, they upgrade as crazy. Somebody goes from, $100 a month to, tens of thousands of dollars per month.
That is insane. The amount of value you're giving is incredible. And again, I think nothing replaces good old fashioned, helping and solving the problem. Like, nothing replaces that, right? So when I think about that download with all the tips and tricks on deliverability, your willingness to just get on a call and explain things, your deliverability experts, the fact that you focus so hard on deliverability and solving that problem in a compelling way. It doesn't just get a little bit better, it gets incredibly better, which then turns around into more leads, more book calls, obviously more business for your users. And then your educational webinars all mixed together is so value packed. It's kind of hard to resist, if you ask me, right? And so I love the approach you're taking, which is just like, pack it with value all the way, man. Just to tie this together, right? Because we went rewind, we did the play and fast forward together, which is all good. What if you had to go back to 2023 and look at Nikita and say, hey, I'm from the future, I got some advice for you. What would you say to yourself back in 23?
Oh, wow. I would say learn how to how to, like address stress faster. Like, because I had so much stress. Yeah. And it turns out it's like a skill that you need to learn, like how to, manage the stress.
How to manage the stress better, faster, and kind of
Yeah.
stay calm in the chaos, right? Because there will be chaos.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a big one, and we're all, again, at the end of the day, humans helping other humans, and so this taking time for ourselves to keep that stress also helps with your decision making ability and being able to
Yeah.
manage through problems. All comes together, man. That's a big lesson. All right, Nikita, I have one more question for you though before you go, which is, what was your favorite jam growing up? That one song that just lights you up every time you hear it.
I don't remember the specific song, but I remember that I really liked Prodigy when I was at school. So yeah,
So
probably.
Prodigy was one of your big ones. Are you going to hum the song for us and sing along? No, I'm kidding. You don't have to
No,
sing it along there.
no, I'm
Cool.
not
But
good with
anything by
that.
Prodigy
With
was the big
singing.
one for you. Terrific,
Yeah.
man. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate it. Nikita, thank you for dropping knowledge for the SaaS community today, man. I would love, it's still early in your journey. I would love it if maybe you can come back later and tell us how things are going, how you're growing. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, for sure. I'm down.
You're so laid back. I love it, man. You make me look like a stress case. You're so laid back. This is great. Nikita, man, I appreciate your time coming in here today. And team, that was Nikita. He is the CEO founder of Maildoso. Check him out on LinkedIn. A lot of great content. I would even download that awesome deliverability guide just to get more familiar with it. I think you're solving a really hard problem directly. So everyone who heard kind of that journey, the hyper focus on value, let's not make it all pretty. Let's make sure it works, and then continue to pile on the value. Think about it, keep it simple, take these lessons, apply it next week. All right, don't let this go to waste, and continue to move away from guessing on your pricing. Remember, stop guessing and start growing. Until next time.
Thank you and much love for listening to the Street Pricing Podcast with Marcos Rivera. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to learn more about capturing value, pick up a copy of Street Pricing on Amazon. Until next time.